the Office of Global Initiatives at Berklee, and we've got an awesome event for you today. Depending on where you are in the world, it could be evening, like for those of us here on the East Coast, and it could be morning for some of you in other parts of the world, for those of us over in the Asia Pacific region, sending out fond and happy Chinese Lunar New Year wishes to everybody. And we're looking forward to being with you in a couple of weeks. We'll share more details about that as we get going. This is part of a series that we've been delivering to connect with musicians all around the world. Gives us a chance to do some remote programming and online clinics and master classes with amazing artist educators like the one we're going to bring to you today. And also allows us to bring these experiences to you in person. And we've got some amazing partners that we're working with, and we want to give a shout out to our partners in Singapore. We've got Keith Kwok here from the School of Music and Art in Singapore. They're going to be our host for the upcoming events that we're going to be doing in Singapore later this month and early in March. And then also we have our colleagues over at Siam Music Yamaha in Bangkok, and we've got Dr. Yudapong and Adapong Gap over at Siam Music Yamaha, who actually have some students and teachers that are going to be joining us in the classroom at their headquarters in Bangkok. And we've been very, very fortunate to be working with both of these organizations for a number of years. Keith, of course, being a Berklee alum and having a great team of teachers over there. And then Siam Yamaha is an incredible organization that is bringing music education and all kinds of amazing Yamaha music equipment to all the musicians in Thailand. So Berklee Global Initiatives is bringing programming through all of our musical partners around the world. And with Berklee Unlocked, what we're going to be doing today is having a featured artist joining us, and I'm going to share some details about him and get him introduced. And then we're joined today also with a couple of colleagues. We've got Daniel Abusio, our Associate Director of Berklee Globals here, and our Assistant Director, Kwang Yao Lim, who's actually in Kuala Lumpur. He's in Malaysia these days, and joining us as well from the Office of Admissions. So throughout the Zoom session, while our guest artist is presenting, feel free, you can drop questions in the chat. And actually, to get things kicked off in the chat, it would be really cool for us to know where all of you are connecting from in the world. And tell us a little bit about yourself, what instruments you're playing, if you're a singer-songwriter, if you're a producer, you can throw that right in the chat. And as we get into the session, you can also use the chat as a way to share questions. And I'm sure that our guest artist is going to be using that as a way to prompt you to share some information as we go forward. And then we'll have a Q&A session toward the end of the session, toward the end of the presentation as well. And we'll be able to answer questions about Berklee's upcoming visits to Singapore and Bangkok. All right. So without further ado, I want to bring our artist in. This is a Berklee graduate, singer, songwriter, pianist, producer. He's the chair of our songwriting department at Berklee. He teaches at Berklee Online as well. He has worked on a number of Grammy-nominated and Latin Grammy-nominated projects, and he's been, I think it's incredible, the amount of songs he's worked on and the reach that he's had globally with his work. He's worked with artists like Sophia Carson, with Stevie Wonder, Roger Daltrey, Eric Clapton, so many incredible people around the world. Studied at Berklee, studied at Full Sail, and he's got a master's in business and entertainment in addition to all the groovy music work he does. It's a pure joy to follow him on social media and check out all the projects he's doing these days. And he's going to be joining all of you in person in Singapore and Bangkok when we hit the road in a couple of weeks. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Rodney Alejandro. How you doing, sir?
Hey there. Hey, hello, everyone. Good evening for some people. Good morning for others. This is pretty cool that we have technology that can allow this to happen, where we can do these fun sessions and get to know one another from around the world, besides just showing up and saying hello. So I'm glad to be here. I like these events and meeting everyone, especially when we come out to the areas that we're headed to. I know Jason gets to travel to a lot more places, but I get to a couple every year. So I'm really excited about coming to Singapore uh, and Bangkok. I've been there before, played some shows in the arenas there. Somewhat familiar, but looking forward to the food as well. So, we're here to talk about songwriting and production. And kind of the first things I'd like to know is where's just in the chat, if you could drop in where you feel you are with songwriting. So one of the first questions I want to ask you is, do you prefer writing lyrics, melody, or the track first? Does anyone have a preference to what they prefer to start their songs with? You can just type it there in the chat, what you like to start with first. Like to write melody, right on. And cool. Anyone else? Where do you like to start writing your song? With a bass riff. Yeah, musician, harmony, right on. Some people are inspired by the chord progression. Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone else? Start writing the lyrics first. Right, right. That's another one. Some people like to have the story idea that because that might inform the harmony, and the other way around, the harmony could inform the lyrics, using imagery to write lyrics. So great. What we have here is from all these different answers is everyone has a different starting point, and what that proves is there's no one way to start a song. And perhaps those of you who usually start with melody, maybe sometimes you start with harmony and then you find the melody, or maybe you find maybe you usually start with lyrics, but then sometimes you start with a harmony. So the idea is that don't feel that, oh, I start this way and that's the way it's supposed to be. Every song is like its own unique thing. It needs to come into being in its own unique way. So just wanted to get everyone's idea of where you might start a song. And again, there's no one way to start a song. The other thing I want to make sure we're clear on is that everyone comes to songwriting at a different place. There could be some people who've been writing songs for a long time here, as much as there could be someone who's just starting out and just starting out on their first few songs. So no matter where you are in the process, songwriting is like working out. The more we practice, the more we work out, the better we get at it. And we also get more in shape with it. So don't feel that, oh, I'm just starting out. I don't know if I can get these concepts, or I've been doing this so long, I don't need to, practice these concepts. We like to say in the songwriting community, your best song is the next song. And then the next song, because we learn from each song that we write and that we finish. So the idea is to keep writing songs. I've written loads of songs that gone out into the world, and I still feel when I think I've written my best song, I write the next one, and I feel like, oh no, this is the best song I've written, and then I write the next one. So I always strive to write that next song. So I have another question for everyone. When you listen to music, what elements grab your attention the most? Is it the lyrics, the melody, the track? Where's your ear drawn to when you first hear a song? You can go ahead and put in the chat there. Melody and harmony. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Laurel. Um, anyone else? Melody, right? Melody, harmony. Anyone else? What's first draws you to a particular song that you're listening to? The rhythmic feel, right on. Melody, harmony, lyrics, right, right. It's interesting that most people, it says melody, right? And we're all musicians. If we're creating music at any level, we're all musicians. And musicians tend to listen a little differently than non-musicians. Musicians tend to be drawn to the intricacies of music because we can appreciate it. We create music too. We play music, whether we write songs or even just perform songs and don't write. we have our ears a bit better tuned for music. However, most people who are not musicians are drawn to the melody first and then the lyric. The melody is the pattern in the music that helps us remember what the lyric is. So this is why it's important that when you're formulating your songs, you have clear melodies, because that's what draws the listener first. We'll talk a little bit more about melodies and patterns as I get into our class here. But I just wanted to point out that, we listen differently than, again, the non-musicians. So we can enjoy the rhythmic feel, we can enjoy the harmony, we can appreciate all those things even at the first listen. But when we're writing songs, one of the most important things is making sure that the melody itself is memorable, catchy in some kind of way, because that's where a listener then puts the lyrics to the music. That's why sometimes when you haven't heard a song for a long time and you kind of hear the elements of the song, you can start whistling the melody or singing the melody before the words come. And that's because the patterns of those melodies is what sticks with us. Right on. So great. So thanks for letting me know. I just wanted to kind of share something like that. The other thing is I wanted to ask the question is, why do we want to write songs anyway? Why do we need songs? Why do we want songs? Why do we want to write songs? So in the chat there, I'd like for you to give me your why. Why do you like to create music or write songs? Share something I've learned or something beautiful, wonderful, very nice, very nice. I got a story to tell. Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it. Here it go. Yeah, absolutely. Storytelling. Songs have always been a good way to share stories. Songs have always been a good way to share something beautiful. Beautiful moments are usually shared with music, right? Happy times, sad times. Music is kind of what goes along with helps us to express our emotions or at least be in touch with our emotions and process certain things, right? That's why when we go out and we want to have fun, we're listening to upbeat songs, music that has melodies that are fun to sing, or just in saying them they're fun, so it causes you to have fun. Just as well, we might turn to songs that when we're not feeling so good, whatever, had a bad day, or we're just going through a tough time, songs are there to help us cope with those emotions. So as songwriters, our the number one rule, if there is any, we like to say there's no rules in music at Berklee, there's only tools. But if there was a rule for songwriting, it would be you're trying to convey some kind of emotional content so that the listener can relate to that in some way, whether it's just about something exciting, something sad, something memorable, something, whatever, however many ways you can describe an emotion, you can write a song about it. And of course, probably the biggest one of all is love. There's a gazillion songs about love. And as unique to every human being on the planet that love is, there could be a song for each one of us on this planet in expressing of love. So every time I hear someone say, oh, that's been done before, love song's been done before, and they're still going to be done over and over and over again. The party song, it's been done, of course, and it's going to be done over and over again because times change. The way we express ourselves changes. So all these things are wrapped into new music. All right. So, we're here to talk about techniques and approaches to songwriting and production. At Berklee, we have a terminology that we use in songwriting called prosody. 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 I'll type it in the chat here. All right. So this term was was used by the philosopher Aristotle. And the term means the appropriate relationship of elements, right? So we're talking music here, and we're also talking emotion, music being a representation of emotion. So one big element, one major approach to your music is using prosody. And prosody comes in many forms. So I'm going to talk about a couple. And it's also spread across not only the songwriting, but the arranging and also the production, what it's going to sound like. So prosody means the appropriate relationship of things. That means that if the melody of the song, or if the emotion of the song is intended to be given emotion, represent an emotion of happiness or excitement, I want to use a melody that feels that way, right? It might have a lots of rhythm and syncopation. It might be, the shape of the melody might go up instead of falling down, right? The shape of the melody is going to want to keep rising. So that's just the melody. If that's, I'm trying to make it exciting, trying to make it feel uplifting, I want my melodies to move in that direction, right on? If the representation of the emotion is to feel more melancholy or down, then I'm probably going to want my melodies to not be as rhythmic, not be as syncopated, and have more of a shape that's more of a downward shape, right? So we're trying to match how we would speak in our music. So I want you to think about this next question. Whenever you have a friend come to you, or you go to a friend and you're super excited about telling them some news, what usually happens? Do you talk really slow and go like, hey, Jason, I just won the lottery? And Jason's going to be like, what? Are you sure? But if I
That's
come to,
fantastic.
yeah, exactly. He's gonna respond like that. He's not gonna believe me. But if I say, Jason, you won't believe it. I just won the lottery. My voice goes up. The expression of it. I get very clear in my language. So if I'm trying to example excitement in the song, I want to do a similar thing. So, or imagine your friend who comes to you and has to share some really sad news. What happens? They probably start talking softer. They probably take longer between telling you because they're thinking about it and they feel it and they just want you to understand them. So they're talking a little softer and slower, perhaps. So if I'm writing a song about that emotion, same thing. I can't have my melodies. I can't have the intervals of the melodies, the lyric. I can't have it be too fast, too rapid, too frantic, because that's the opposite of feeling sad. Now, you can have emotion of frantic, and that could be represented in a song, but imagine what that could feel like. So prosody is matching the emotion that you're trying to convey and using the music as a way to reflect it. Same thing with a lyric. If lyric is going to be, I want to reach the sky, right? I might not, I probably don't want to sing, I want to reach the sky. That's not, that melody goes down. I want to reach the sky. I don't know if you really want to reach the sky if it's not inspiring the feeling of, I want to reach the sky, right? I want to reach the sky. That's like, I'm looking up, the high note is sky, sky's above me. So all those things click with us in our mind. All those things click with the listener in their mind when we match prosody, when we match the intention of the song with the feeling and the emotion that we're trying to convey. And so all the music tricks, all the music tools are part of that. Maybe some of you have heard, if you want to write a sad song, use a minor key. Minor typically has a darker sound for sure, right? If you want to write a happy song, use major. That's part of prosody, right? You can write a happy song in minor. You can write a sad song in major, right? When you put all the elements together. But the primary idea is that prosody, when you think of prosody and the appropriate relationship, am I using the music in the right way to express the emotion? That also comes into arrangement. The arrangement of the song. What are the parts that are going to be played to support the melody? If my melody is about like excitement again, if it's about excitement and having fun, then all the musical parts, I'm going to avoid whole notes. I'm gonna avoid big long whole notes because that slows the rhythm down, that slows the energy down. I'm going to create rhythmic parts to support that melody. I'm going to create counter melodies. I'm going to create all kinds of things that enliven the melody to create more excitement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song right now that kind of examples prosody. It's called I Hear a Symphony. And it's a beautiful lyric by an artist named Cody Fry. And what happens is pay attention to the prosody. Listen to how the song starts to listen to how the song develops. And remember, the song is I Hear a Symphony. Here we go. Right on. So if you recall, this song started with just the vocal, the singer singing by himself.
I used to hear a simple song.
I used to hear a simple song. All we hear is the melody by itself with the lyric. And it's called I Hear a Symphony. So by the end of the song, we hear an exact, almost what a symphony does. You state a theme, you start repeating the theme through variation. The arrangement gets bigger. The piano comes in, and then some strings come in, some like violins, violas. By the time you know it, we have a giant symphony playing at the end of the song with double basses and timpani and cymbal crashes and woodwinds. So the song, the arrangement, and the production is following the meaning of the lyric and the feeling of the song. What does it feel like to hear a symphony? This big dynamic range of sound is the first thing. And the other thing is it is very emotional. That sound represents from a simple idea to a symphonic idea. So going from a single voice to the many voices of a symphony and complex arrangement and playing together in something so beautiful sounding, right? So this is my kind of perfect example of prosody, and it carries over from the lyric to the melody, to the harmony, to the arrangement, to the production. It's all, there's a through line of making sure the impact is there. And when all those things align, your song has way more sticking power, way more emotional content when those things start to align. All right. So that's our prosody at Berklee. Other people use words like word painting. The thing about word painting is that it kind of just limits it to the lyric. So have the music reflect what the lyric is doing, not necessarily the emotion of the song. So we like to use prosody. Again, Aristotle came up with it, but we use it quite a bit because then we can carry it over into arrangement, carry it over into production. We even carry it over into imaging, right? If I'm in a certain style of music, then it's kind of expected that the images of the music, whether it's a single cover or a video or whatever that might be, matches what the music is supposed to sound like. So prosody is always in effect, and the more you align everything, the stronger your song will be. All right, so I just want to start there because that's typically something we like to just put up front because pretty much everything we do is based around prosody. Now, is there sarcasm? Yes, you can create sarcasm. Can you create irony? Yes, you can create irony as well. Music is super flexible to be able to convey all these motions through all the musical tools that there are. All right, so I have some songwriting tips and tools and tips that I want to share with you. And when I'm there in Singapore and in Bangkok, I hope you all will come out to my workshop that we're going to hold there and bring some songs in. One of my favorite things to do is to work with you live on a song, call someone up who's willing to perform their song for everyone. And then I kind of listen through the songs and then provide some tools and tips there on the spot and allow you to like replay it with these new ideas in mind and see the difference. Sometimes the song comes out better. Sometimes I do what's called I break it, meaning it was already good, and all the changes I was suggesting didn't make it any better. And that's okay too. But it's the process, and we learn through that process of figuring it out. All right. So the first thing I want to make sure that everyone is well aware of song structure. There's several ways to go about song structure, but I'm going to kind of break it down why it's important. Every song should have a beginning, middle, and end, just as I have there, right? Song sections are that. So the song structure overall is the organization of the different sections of the song. So when we say verse, or when we say chorus or bridge, those are individual sections. They're the puzzle pieces. When we connect them together, we create the song's journey, and the overall thing is a song structure. And that structure can be identified. The primary structure of the modern era is called verse chorus, right? The song, we usually hear a verse first, and then somewhere we have a chorus. Sometimes it's verse and immediately a chorus. Sometimes it's verse, a pre-chorus, and we'll get into that in a minute, and then the chorus. But the idea is, what are the primary sections that are telling the message of the song? The chorus is telling us the main idea, and the verse is telling us the details. So if these two elements are the major ones, then it's usually called the verse chorus, even though we're going to have some other sections in there. And we're going to talk more about that one today, because that's primarily what is the majority of songs these days are verse chorus format of some form. But just real quick, some other ones, we have what's called verse refrain. And a verse refrain is a type of song where each verse has the title in it, maybe at the end or at the beginning. So if you think of the Beatles, Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away, nah, here to stay, oh, nah, like yesterday, it just yesterday, then it starts all over the next verse. So that's a verse refrain. There's not a real chorus per se. It does have a bridge and an AABA, but it's the verse with the title in it. And then there's 12-bar blues. That's a song form, right? We can play a 12-bar blues, and even though the lyrics change each first verse, the format is 12 bars every single time. So 12-bar blues is another type of song form. Don't be fooled though. You might go, oh man, 12-bar blues, that's so old. There are songs today that still use the 12-bar blues format, but presented in a pop song format. So a little bit of extra. What a Man Gotta Do by Jonas Brothers is a blues form stretched out over a pop format. So I don't want to get into it because there's a whole things that go on with that, but I just want to give you some extra tips and points, tools on that, or extra song on that one if you want to take a listen to. So we're going to talk about verse chorus. All right. Song structure is important again because it has a beginning, the middle, and the end. We need to know where the song is starting. We need to know the songs where we are when we finally hit the high point of the song, and then what the end is going to be. So we want to feel that arc. Think about I Hear a Symphony, how it started, just the whole production started simple and it grew to something really big. And the middle part was when the piano started coming in, all the other instruments started coming in, the lyrics started to develop further, the melody developed further as well. He sang a more complicated melody the deeper into the song that he got, even though it was still familiar. All right, so common song sections in modern verse chorus. The verse, the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is usually the section that ramps you to the chorus. The job of the pre-chorus is to build momentum. And we'll talk about that again, I think, on the next slide. Then the chorus. The chorus is where the main idea of the song is. We like to say, if you have more lyrics in the chorus than the verse, then your chorus isn't a chorus. It's just another verse. So the chorus needs to have the statement of the main idea with some space, with the production and the arrangement all supporting the energy of whatever the emotion is, and then delivering the title. This is why in the chorus you could hear a title 4 times or 5 times, because the chorus is where we really want the people to sing along and then remember the song, right? I'm sure if I told you, can you play me that song that goes, doom, 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 you would never know what song that is. But if I were to tell you, play me that song with that goes like doom, 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 doom. I'm singing it out of tune, but if I'm close enough, then that melody, doom, 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 that's Seven Nation Army. That's that was a song that most people would recognize. So the chorus is that part of the song where we drive home the main idea with catchy melodies and hooks. The post chorus, some songs have post chorus, just like a pre chorus, but the post chorus is basically a section of the song extending the energy and the catchiness of the song. One more cycle, just to drive home the catchiness and memorability time, right? So if you can see those three sections, a pre-chorus, a chorus, and a post-chorus, that's a good chunk of a song. If I'm hearing that energy, chances are I'm going to be remembering that. And then we get to the bridge. Some songs have bridges. A lot of songs don't. The song I just played for you today did not have a bridge. It had various interludes, but not a bridge. And what determines a bridge? We'll get into the next slide. I don't want to get ahead. Any questions so far on song structure or song sections? If you do, just pop it right in the chat. Again, this is super important so that the listener knows where you are automatically in the song, right? And they can follow along. As much as we like to be unique in our songs, listeners like predictability. The trick is how to be predictable without being boring. That's the trick of good songwriting, right? Okay, so again, if there's any questions, just pop them there in the Zoom and I'll get to them. So how do we use each one of these to make it work? You can't just write lyrics and melodies, say, well, that's my verse. So now I'm going to make that my pre-chorus and I'm going to make that my chorus. And that's what it is. Each section of a song has a very important function. And if you blur the lines on its function, guess what? The listener is not going to know exactly where you are. Remember, you may be writing songs for the first time or the 100th time, but the listeners probably heard thousands of songs. So they almost know song structure better than a new songwriter because they're used to listening to the beginning, the middle, the end. They're used to listening to making sure each section has been formulated correctly. So it's always good feedback when you play your song and you hear what people say about your song, to take that into consideration. Are they understanding what your intention is of the song? So here's some effective uses when you're making your verses. By the way, you don't always have to start your song with the verse. You can start with the chorus or a part of the chorus and then move into the verse, right? So verse sets up the mood for the song, right? Not only harmonically, but rhythmically, right? What's the idea for the song? And even more importantly, it gives the details lyrically, right? It starts to tell you who's involved. The verse should tell you what's happening. And by use of what we call tense, when it's happening. Was it yesterday? Was it today? Am I using words that mean past tense? Am I using words that we're doing it now? Am I using words that mean it's going to happen in the future? But the most important thing in a verse, the very first verse especially, is who's involved and point of view. Who's talking to who? We can find out when later, but the most important thing is I need to know who the singer is singing to. Is the singer singing to me as a listener, or is it singing to are they singing to everybody? Are they telling me a story about someone else? All those things need to align because the listener will grab it that fast. So in the verse is where we give these details. Now, the other thing that happens in the verse is we have a thing where you can end resolved or unresolved, meaning at every 8 bars, does it feel like the story's complete musically? If it still feels like it's complete, then it's resolved. And then we move on to the next section. If it feels like it's incomplete, then we know it's unresolved and it's going to push us into the next section. And we'll see where that comes into play. But a verse can be either. If you're writing left to right, then the next section comes the pre-chorus. Pre-chorus can be the same harmony as a verse, but then the melody has to change in some major way to create momentum. Or you can change chords in a pre-chorus so that we get a bit of contrast in tone, and that helps reintroduce the music and then build energy to the chorus again. And then the most important thing in the chorus, the pre-chorus, is to finish that it finishes unresolved, meaning at the end of the pre-chorus, you want it to feel like you're expecting to go to another section. One way we do this is we make it 5 bars instead of 4. Another way we do this is we have the harmony not be predictable. Like I'm on the 1 chord at the end of the pre-chorus. Maybe I'm on the 5 chord at the end, and then the 1 chord hits in the chorus. So you find ways to keep the pre-chorus unresolved, and then all that energy builds and it pushes you into the chorus. And then we get to the chorus. In the chorus, this is where we would say that's where the hook is. What is the catchy bit of the song that I remember? What is a catchy bit of the song that I want someone to remember? It might be a simple lyric. It might be a rhythm pattern. It might be interval. Something's got to happen in the chorus. So I'm going to play another song. All right. So that watermelon sugar high, that rhythmic hook, that rhythmic phrase is a catchy hook. That's what we call a rhythmic hook. Now, the lyric is unique as well. Watermelon sugar high. No one knows really what that means, at least even in the States. So don't feel bad if you're in another country like, what is that? We don't know what it means either, but it's catchy enough because it's different. Along with the rhythm, it's created a hook. And then that title phrase is repeated. We hear watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high. We hear it super repeated. That's the chorus. That repetition helps us understand what we're supposed to remember. Now it's easier to remember that song and request that song than singing some kind of part that maybe somebody knows, maybe somebody doesn't. So that chorus should always have repetitive titles. Well, take that. Shouldn't always be. It has repetitive titles and melodies that repeat for sure, even if the lyrics don't, to drive home catchiness and memorability. Again, post-chorus is an optional section. Not all songs have post-chorus, but the idea is to extend the energy of the chorus, keep the energy up in the production and the arrangement so that the hook, we can drive the title home, meaning we can repeat it more and it have more catchiness with the audience. And then last is the bridge section. A bridge section, you really want to change harmonic center. So real quick, here's a cool tip. If your song, it doesn't matter what key you're in, as a matter of fact, or whether you're major or minor, if your chorus is on the 1 chord somehow, 1, 4, 5, or 1, 6, 2, 5, whatever it might be, and you want to try a bridge, go to the 4 chord. That's a great option to just start testing where the bridge could be. Or if you're in major, go to the 2 minor chord and see how that feels. Or you can go to the 6 minor chord in major to try for the bridge, right? And that way it'll have a shift in tonal center. The next thing is your lyric ideas want to then give more information or context about the story you've told in the verses, right? So one way to approach this is if the song is talking about what happened in the past, most of the way, like the verse and the lyric talk about what happened in the past, maybe the bridge is talking about what's happening today or what might happen tomorrow, or vice versa. If the verse and the verses are talking about in the future, we're going to like rule the world. It's going to be us and we're going to, you know, succeed in all our goals. Then maybe the bridge talks about, but today we got to do the work. Today we got to do this thing, right? So that's one way to shift perspective in the bridge so that there's more information about that would end up making the chorus that comes after it fresh again, right? So this is how we formulate our sections to puzzle piece together and create a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So that's a effective use of song sections to create an overall song structure that the listener is, you know, used to. So we want to kind of mimic our songs in that way so that the listener can feel good. Mind you, for those who speak a different language other than English and you write in your native language, a lot of this process is the same. Earlier when we started, I was talking about patterns. Music is based on patterns. Western music, Eastern music, all music is based on some kind of pattern, whether it's to a click or a specific tonal center, there's some pattern involved. So a lot of this that I'm talking about is based on what humans like to hear in their ear. As humans, we like patterns. Patterns make us feel comfortable. Patterns make us feel, you know, makes things friendly, right? So at the same time, patterns can be boring. And this is where being creative is important in songwriting, right? Even though we like patterns, even though we like to know what's coming at us, we still want a little bit of surprise, right? Just to keep us interested. So whether you're writing in English, whether you're writing in Thai or you're writing in Malaysian language, then the idea is the process is the same. What are the patterns I'm establishing? Where's my chorus? Where's the title of the chorus to make sure that that's repeated, that's heightened in the arrangement, that's heightened in the production, so that the listener knows this is the part I want you to remember, the chorus section. All right. So I'm going to give y'all a little bit of homework as I talk about these next things. And hopefully when those of you come to the clinic in Singapore and Bangkok, you can present a song with some of these ideas and we can go through them. All right. So I want to give you a bit of information around what makes a great chorus. What makes a really solid chorus? What helps the chorus be catchy? What helps the chorus be memorable? And there's two major things: the placement of the title and the melodic patterns of that chorus. And so I'm going to play some examples as I go through these. So the first thing is title. In a chorus, which is typically 8 bars long, depending on the tempo, if you're about 165 and up there, it might be 16 bars long. So what we're going to talk about basically doubles. But most songs today, 8 bars is the chorus, the primary chorus. Now, mind you, this is just the 7 common formats across the most popular Billboard songs, Billboard 100, over the last like 40, 50 years. If you take all the songs that were hits, this pattern of title placement was the most common. Are there other ones? Absolutely. And I only know of one song that doesn't really repeat at all. Tom's Diner. So, but most songs have one of these formats. So most choruses are 8 bars long. And most choruses of 8 bars contain 4 2-bar phrases, right? So in an 8-bar chorus, there's 4 2-bar phrases. So each of those phrases has an opportunity to land the title. So therefore, if we see these 4 T's right here, this would mean that in each of the 4 2-bar phrases, the title appears in each of those phrases. And that, I'm going to play a song so you know what that sounds like. A song like that is going to be, I got some Spanish ones. So I'm gonna play some ones in Spanish. Okay, so this song is called Otra Noche Sin Ti, J Balvin and Khalid, right? But the idea is what I want you to hear is the chorus, Otra Noche Sin Ti. Those are the words, and you're gonna hear it repeated 4 times in the chorus. You can tell how the energy shifted into telling more of the story. So Otra Noche Sin Ti, he's saying that 4 times. I'll play another one like that. There, but you heard Galway Girl in both phrases of the chorus there. All right. So that's the T, 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 T. That means you're repeating the title in every phrase. By the way, I'm going to play another song that has 16 bar chorus, and every 4 bars is a phrase. And each of those phrases, even though there's other words, we hear the title every single time. Here we go. And the song's called What About Us by Pink. So even though in that musical phrase, we know it's coming, she shifts the melody a little bit each time. The lyrics help make the actual melody new every time. But this is how we create predictable without being boring. So as you can imagine, here's the other alignments of title, title, a totally different line with no title in it, and then the title. Ooh, we got a song like that somewhere. All right, here's this one. Good for You from Olivia Rodrigo. Good for you there in the last phrase, right? So as you can tell, these are the different combinations. We might hear a chorus where the title's at the very beginning of the chorus and then at the very end of the chorus. In this particular model here, it's at first and third line. In this model, 2 and 4. In this model, the title's in the first line and we don't hear it anymore. And in the last one, the title is at the very last, because that's the only place we hear it. And I'm going to play you that song. And there we heard it right there. So we've heard dynamite in the last phrase. And this is, again, chorus formats of pop songs. If you don't want to sound like pop, then don't do anything that I'm showing you today. Okay. All right. So that's just the lyric. We are just talking about the lyric. We haven't said anything about the musical notes yet. That's a whole nother thing. So this is just the alignment of the title. Any questions so far? Well, okay. If you do have a question, feel free to pop it there in the chat and we can talk about it. All right. The second important thing when you're building your chorus is what's the melodic phrase pattern? So now we have our lyrics. What's the melody going to be? And if remember, if we introduce too much new information, too many new melodies, then there's no predictability, there's no friendliness for the listener, and it makes the song harder to remember. So much like tidal patterns, like that, we have melodic patterns. So as you can imagine, there's melodic phrases. Typically in a chorus, there's 4 melodic phrases of either 2-bar or 16-bar. And each of those phrases will have a specific melodic identification. So my first melody is always going to be A. My first melodic phrase is always A. Now I have to decide, am I going to repeat that melody? If I do, then I'm going to have this A, where the melody is the same every 4 bars, or some variation of that melody is happening every 4 bars. So let me find you a song like that. So a song that has this A format, meaning the melody is most of the time the same. It might shift a note, like, okay, like Watermelon. Let's hear this. Pretty much the same melody. Watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high, watermelon sugar high. It's just moving the very last ones, but that is really a variation on that main melody. So then that's why we have it as A. It's the same melody all the way through melodic phrases. Another one would be like that is this one. Right? So levitating is a 2-bar phrase repeated 4 times. That's the chorus. That's this A here, right? The other melodic pattern is that's super popular is A, meaning we hear the same melodic pattern twice, something changes in the 3rd line, and then we hear the restatement of the original melody. So that one is going to be a song like this. So that chorus, let's get down to business. That's the first melody. Da 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 da. Second melody, that's the same melody repeats. And then we've had a million nights like this. That's the 3rd one, which is a different phrase. Then goes back to the original. Let's get down to business, right? So as you can tell, there's not a lot of new information in there when it comes to melody. And then these are the other ones, AABB, AAAB, ABAB. These are, again, the most common one. Are there other ones? Absolutely. But I want to just show you that these are the main ones. Here's a big one of the ABAB version. All right, so that was an ABAB. Interestingly enough, that song's called Blinding Lights. The only time you hear the title in the chorus is in the first phrase. So what I also want to point out is just because your title might have 4, 4, 4, 4 like this, like it's repeated in every bar, it does not have to be in the same melodic pattern of A, 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 A. You can have A, 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 where the melody is the same melody every phrase, but then the title only shows up at the beginning or at the end, or maybe only in the first and third phrase, right? So I wanted to show you one more that is this AAAB. It's a very powerful one where you give me the same melody 3 times in a row, and then you surprise me at the end. People like that because you've given them enough of the repetition that they're supposed to know, so that when you give them a surprise at in the very last phrase, it feels very refreshing. So that one sounds like this. And by the way, here we go. The name of this song is called Liz. See if you can count where the title is in each melodic phrase while we listen to this melodic phrase pattern. Right. So this melody structure was this AAAB, but in this song, in the same chorus, she said the title every time in the chorus in each melodic phrase. So it was a T, 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 T. Even though there's extra words, we hear the title in each melodic phrase, even though the melodic phrase changes in the very last line. So when you start coupling these two things together, this is how we build strong choruses. We get repetition, which helps create memorability. And when the melodies start to repeat and are simple, they start to get catchy. And then a person can start catching on to your song from the very first listen. So these are some primary things we like to teach at Berklee. You get loads of practice in this day in and day out when you study there and you study on our courses. And just some other tidbits. If you're writing songs, don't make your intro too long. You want to start hearing the main melody within 10 seconds of the start. And you want your chorus to land about 45 to 60 seconds into the song, or else people tune out. That's kind of just human hearing. Attention spans change. There used to be a time, Jason can tell you, when there was 30 seconds of an intro and the radio person could talk, and then we heard the lyric. Not anymore. You get 2 bars or 4 bars, and if people are not hearing what they want to hear, they change the songs, right? So kind of remember that. Practice this chorus songwriting technique for those of you who might come to our workshop in Bangkok or Singapore. Use these tips of title placement, melodic phrase pattern, and see how you can develop stronger choruses in that way. And I'd love to work with you on a song that you bring in to workshop when I visit there in a couple of weeks. So now I just want to open to any questions about songwriting that you might have, whether it's to this material, maybe any other question around songwriting that you're trying. Don't be shy. Or Berklee, Jason is here as well to talk about that.
Yeah, Rodney, this is obviously gold, great information, and really clear and concise. And I think, as you noted, for those of you joining the session here in the Zoom and those of you that are watching on the streaming platforms, we're going to be in Singapore at the School of Music and Arts with Keith Kwok, who's joined us as well today. And we're going to be there. Let me just pull up my notes. I want to make sure I get my itinerary correct. So that, Lim is here as well from the Office of Admissions. And let's see. This is, I'll add the itinerary here in the folder and in the chat. so you can see it. Okay, this is Friday, March 1st. And there's a bunch of text in there. Sorry, it looks kind of wonky, but you can see we're going to be starting at about 1600 hours. That's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Space is limited at School of Music and Art, and so we're hoping that all of you that want to come out and join us, we would like for you to register because there's limited seating there, and we want to make sure that we can accommodate as many people as possible. So here's the link for folks that would like to register. And then we're going to be at the Bangkok Arts and Culture Center on the 6th of March with Siam Music Yamaha. We've got a bunch of really great people coming in to hang with us. We're going to be there in the afternoon. And Dr. Yudapong is here in Gap as well. So, and we've got some questions coming in, Rodney. I see you're answering those. And you're replying as well. But maybe you want to review them here live so that other people
Sure.
can kind of get
Absolutely.
your take on these. Yeah.
Once you had a question about the melodic patterns like AAA or AABA, they're for the chorus. What about the whole song? The idea is that those patterns can work in a verse as well. You use those patterns for a verse. So the idea is you introduce a melody in the verse, maybe you repeat it, that'd be AA. Maybe the third time around for a phrase, you use something different, and then you come back to the A. So they don't have, whatever the pattern is in the chorus, it doesn't have to match that in the verse. The verse can, if your chorus is an A melodic pattern, the verse can be A. Verse can be A. The idea is that we just want to establish some pattern in each section so that the listener doesn't feel like the song is rambling, right? So whatever you establish in the verse is fine. Establish something fresh in the pre-chorus, and then you have your chorus pattern. But the idea is to create a pattern. Now, there are patterns where you have A, B, C, or A, B, C, where there's a third melody involved, right? Most song sections have two melodies. Every now and then you get a really clever song that has a third melody on there. And I always like to point it out because it's quite special. And I just want to just show you how it works. So if you all know, I got to share my sound again. Sorry. I'm going back into this, Jason, but I just, since once you asked, I want to be able to show what we're doing here. Computer audio. All right, so I'm gonna play this song. We were talking about melodic patterns, correct? There's usually two melodies per section, like a chorus, A. I say A, or A, or it could be A. This is a song that was super popular that has three melodies. Very tricky to do, but listen how much it's repeated. That is super clever songwriting right there. That's like ninja level. To get 3 melodies in a verse and it to be catchy, that's ninja level writing right there. That's, I mean, yeah, there's few songs like that, but when they work amazingly. So want you as a long answer to your question, but I just wanted to share a bit more information and show you an example of something like that, where the melodic patterns are, there's one pattern in the chorus and there's different ones in the verses. So yes, but you do use that within each section of the song. Any other questions on songwriting? Is there a format you recommend and can link to for this journey and a way to organize the lyrics of the song in a document when submitting? That's a very good question. Typically, you group the lyrics via stanzas. So if your verse has 4 lines, 4 melodic lines, then you should see 4 lines of lyric, right? If your verse has 5 lines, 5 melodies, then you should see 5 lines of melody, 5 lines of lyric. So the idea is I'm gonna grab a lyric sheet and I'll show you from one of mine that I have, I hope, readily available, and I can show you. I'm gonna show you a lyric lineup. I was doing an analysis of a lyric and here. Can y'all, I don't know what y'all seeing. Yes. So this page here. So this is my verse. So you see each start of each phrase. Do you think our time is up? Do you think we're losing touch? So every time I start a melodic phrase, it's a new line, new lyric line, right? So then here is the pre, then here's the chorus. So what we're trying to make sure we see is the rhyme scheme as well. Up, touch, before, off, enough, for, right? Difficult, typical, survive, doubt, burn out, alive. So the idea is that we want to see how the rhyme scheme aligns. If we go back to this song, I Hear a Symphony, the first one I played today, I used to hear a simple song. That was until you came along. Now there's a place, it's something new. I hear it when I look at you. So you can see actually and read the poetry in it as the lyrics line up. Right on. So part of lyric, when you're charting your lyrics down on a sheet of paper, you group them by the stanza. So that would have been the first verse. This would have been the second verse. And now this would have been the final verse of the song. And then there was a gap when there was an interlude, and then we hear the last line. And so just to show you another one, I'm going to go to Firework because we're looking at Katy Perry. See how they're grouped again? So this would be the first verse. This would be the pre-chorus, because baby, you're a firework, right? That's the chorus. So we can see the lineup of the rhyme scheme as well. Firework, your worth, make it say, oh, 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 make them reach across the sky. Firework, colors burst, oh, 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 make them right? Bag again, thin, in, deep, thing, you. We can see the rhyme scheme lineup in the stanza of the lyric. So that's the best way to align your lyric. Again, this would be the verse, pre-chorus, chorus. And it starts all over with verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Right on? So that's how we format our lyrics when we're submitting them. Yes, I would label them verse, chorus, etc., just for clarity. That doesn't hurt to do that. Absolutely.
Great questions. Very cool. So I'm hoping that, those of you that are joining us again, that you do come out and meet us in person. Lim, Rodney, and I are going to be there. And Wang Zhu's got another question here. Why don't we jump into that?
Yeah, Berklee, New York, and Boston. Yeah, there's a Berklee, New York. But that campus is for the master's program of songwriting and production. Berklee and Boston, that's the undergrad, that's the 4-year bachelor's degree program. So that's where you do, a big majority of your study. And if you were to go on to do a master's, you transfer to Berklee, New York, to do the master's level of songwriting and production. So those are the two differences. And also the master's program in New York is 1 year. and the bachelor program in Boston is 4 years.
Yeah. And you know, please bring your music. Come and join us at
Yes,
SOMA
please.
in Singapore with Keith. Join us with Siam Music Yamaha. You know, Rodney, Lim, and I will be there. We'll be able to hang and play. We'll bring, you know, we'll have other musicians there to join us as well. And for Rodney, for you to be able to workshop songs with them. And yeah, reach out to your friends and colleagues, your fellow musicians. This is a great time to get together and do what we love to do, which is to make music together, to share our experiences, our knowledge. You know, it's us learning from you just as much as hopefully we'll be able to share some things with you. So Gap is raising his hand. He's got a whole classroom of people there, I can see. And go ahead, Gap. What do you got, sir?
Yeah, Jason, today we have a student from Hong Kong to join us also. And I hope, yeah, and I hope them all will enjoy with your session in BACC also. There are a lot of interesting about what Rodney said.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. And we know that the time zone thing kind of got a little goofy this morning, and we know it's the holiday. So we really appreciate all of you coming out and participating. And please, you know, bring your instruments. I think we're gonna I know in Bangkok, Gap, we're talking about doing some playing. We're gonna try and do like a little jam session or something at the end of the workshop. So please bring your instruments, and we'll figure out some tunes that we can play together. And or maybe some of your songs that you've written, you could bring, you know, if it's an original tune, bring a lead sheet, and we'll you know, we'll take it for a test drive.
Mhm.
All right.
I like that. Take it for a test drive.
Yeah. So very, very cool. Rodney, any parting thoughts before we break for this morning or this evening?
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you who are pursuing songwriting or trying songwriting, don't get frustrated with the process. It's like learning your instrument. I'm sure if you're learning to play drums or guitar, sometimes you wish you could throw your instrument out the window. I know I wish I could have millions of times, but it's part of practice and growing. You know, it's an exercising a creative muscle like it is exercising your fingers or your limbs to play an instrument. So don't get frustrated. It's very rare that the first songs that come out and everyone loves them. But it's through the practice and through trial and error and experimentation and using the tools and doing it over and over, you'll be writing good songs in no time. So I want to just encourage you to do that, much like it is, you know, practicing your instrument, working on the rudimentary stuff that gets boring, like the scales and all these things. But in the end, the long run, it really does help your playing. It helps you to learn faster in the future. So I encourage you to do all that. And of course, I encourage you to come out and join us when we're in Bangkok, when we're in Singapore. Bring your songs, bring your music. Let's make some music together. And like Jason said, let's take them for a test drive. Let's have some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to our friends and our partners at SOMA and at Siam Music Yamaha. You know, Keith, it's going to be great to hang with you and all the other Berklee alums and all the team at SOMA and everybody at Siam Yamaha. We're really looking forward to this. I threw in our link tree as well for those of you that are following us on social media. You know, Danielle, Bree, and I, and Lim and the team in the admissions office have regular events online. We have our teams out in the world. So please join us, you know, follow us online, register for the events. We have regular events where you can just come in and ask us questions. And then I think literally over the next couple of weeks, we're probably in like 4 or 5 countries, which is an awesome thing to be able to come and hang with you in person. Rodney, as always, truly appreciate your time, you know, and you bringing your expertise to all these incredible young musicians in the world, and looking forward to traveling with you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thanks for being here. I really enjoyed this. And so I hope to see as many of your faces there in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Take care, everybody. Be well. Keep making great music.
Peace.